I said, um, the table of contents InDesign will do for you, and which is really convenient on larger books. But you've got to set things up correctly. And what it really requires is that you have set your headline paragraph styles correctly and applied them correctly. It also requires you've got your page numbers set up in the correct manner, which involves using parent pages in order to automatically number pages. The reason this process works out so well is that if you decide you need to change the order of your pages, you can do that, regenerate, update the table of contents, and the new order of everything will update accordingly in the table of contents you've created. If you do it manually, then you've got to go through and start moving numbers, page numbers manually, titles manually, all of those kinds of things. So I'm going to set up a real basic document. You can set it up with me. It'll be pretty simple. We're not going to do anything other than just some basic setup with it. But your documents, your final documents will be different from what I'm creating here, but the process will all be the same. So with all of that, let's see. Let me get rid of all this stuff. That I want to keep. Let's close that up. Close that up. All right. So I'm going to create a new document, and it's going to be a print document. So go to print, grab letter. I'm going to change it to inches, at least to start with, 8.5 by 11. And I'm going to create 12 pages. And we're going to set it up as facing pages. And this is kind of important as well. But remember when we set up a document, that a very simple way to make sure we're working with a grid structure of some kind is to set a number of columns for each of our pages. So I'm going to set them to 4 columns. I got 12 pages, they're facing pages. And I'll leave the gutter alone. Margins are at 1/2 inch, and I'm going to set a bleed on it. So set a bleed to 0.125. 12 pages. Okay, so when setting up our pages, and I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. Anytime we're doing a booklet style publication, like our final project here, or any other brochure that we might do, regular standard brochure, they always have to be done in signatures of 4, which means that if I've got an 11 by 17 sheet, which is actually larger than that, but within a booklet, actually, maybe the better example is, this one. If I only have a 4-page booklet, or a 4-page brochure, it's going to be, I've got my front, and I've got my back, got my inside front, I got my inside back. How many pages is that? 4 pages. So everything works that way. So if I have an 8-page book, how many sheets am I going to have? 2 sheets, right? 2 sheets with 4 pages each. That'd be, if I need more pages than that, if I'm working out my book and I've got 9 pages, I need to make a decision. Do I adjust my design to get it down to 8 pages? Or do I adjust my design to take it up to 12 pages? Everything's always in multiples of 4, all right? There are exceptions to that, but those are custom exceptions, and we're not going to deal with those here, all right? So we always want to be thinking about sets of 4. That's why it's outlined in the assignment that way. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, keep adding 4s. So So I'm just starting out with a 12-page book. And I think that that'll work out pretty well. A 12-page book works out to actually only 3 sheets of paper, because you got 4 pages on 3 sheets, that's 12 pages. So 12-page book, we're just going to go ahead and create. And let's see, drag all these down. All right. So if I open up my Pages panel, I'm going to move it to this menu. Here we go. There's my 12 pages, set up and ready to go. All right. So one of the requirements of the assignment and for creating a correct table of contents is that every page has a page number. And generally speaking, pages start with the front cover and end with the back cover. And whenever we number pages, we'll really only number 2 through 11 in this case. We won't number our covers. So remember that, and I'm just going to use my parent page A here to set up my page numbers. So if I go up to my parent page, parent A, just double click on that so I get both of those up side by side. I'm going to draw a text box, and I'm actually going to draw it up here near the top. You'll put yours at the bottom. I mean, you'll make it a little more reasonable than what I'm going to make this one, but I want to do this large for example purposes. So I'm just going to draw a text box with the cursor in there. I'm going to add the page number placeholder to it. So I'm going to go to my type menu, down to insert special characters, markers, current page number. And you'll see that in that text box, it places the letter A. The reason it's the letter A is because we're on parent set A. If I had 2 different sets of parent pages, A and B, this letter would show up as a B on the B pages. So it's just the way InDesign kind of does that. I'm just going to select that, and I'm going to make it nice and big. Again, I'm just for examples here. You generally won't make it this big unless it's actually part of your design, but just do that, and I'm going to make it. All right. So there's my first page. I'm just going to do a couple of little things here. This part has nothing to do with the page numbering. It's just for setting up my pages. I want to make that box nice and tall. Control click on it. Text frame options, and I'm just going to float that sucker right to the middle. So there's my page number for the left-hand page. I'm just going to copy this now. I could do that whole process again on the other page. I'm just going to copy it, come across here, and paste it. Place it over here. Go to my paragraph panel, and I'm going to, my alignments, I'm just going to flush it to the right. But I could also use this towards or away from spine option that's out here. I think I showed you that before. So we've done that, our page numbers. So remember in your final project, if it requires a folio which has certain information on it, this is where that information is going to go on the parent pages. So we've got that. And then if I come in here, double click on my page 2 here, now we'll see that all of our pages have their appropriate page numbers on them, all the way down through, including our cover and our back page. Yeah. How did I what? So from which part do I need to do it again? Oh. You got it? No? Let's see. Sorry, it's probably one of those things I did and I'd never think to mention that, so. Okay. So we got our page numbers, but we don't want them on our cover and our back page. So in that case, I'm just going to use this none parent page. Select that thumbnail, click on it, and I'm just going to drag it down on top of page 1, and that'll remove the page number. And I'm going to do the same thing with the very last page, page 12. So you see all my other pages are still numbered correctly. I just removed it from the cover and the back. All right? So that's the first thing. Make sure you're using your parent pages appropriately whenever you do this assignment, all right? So we've got that. Generally speaking, our table of contents is always going to be on page 2, all right? I'm going to leave the page number on page 2, but usually yours will be here at the bottom or the top or somewhere, so it'll be out of the way. But usually our table of contents will be on page 2. But we're going to do that last. So when we set this up, I'm just going to create now I'm in the regular pages. I'm going to go to page 3. I'm just going to create a text area. If I've got the blinking cursor in it, I'll go to my type menu, and I'm just going to fill it with placeholder text. Remember, you're actually going to write your own copy for each of these. So the placeholder text thing doesn't really apply to you, what you're going to be doing, but I need something in here, and that's how I want to do it. And then at the very top of that, I'm just going to type, I'm going to put project 1. Let's do this. Tracings, for instance. And the way table of contents works is that we're going to we got to make sure that we are at least defining our headline, actually define our headline style sheet, because it's going to use anything that has that headline applied to it to create the entry in the table of contents. So I created this block. Actually, just shorten a lot of this copy up. I don't need that much text. And I'm just going to make this bigger. I'll go back to I like this typeface. I'm going to make it about 48 points. Okay, do something like that. And then I'm just going to apply, actually, I'm just going to take it this far. So what I want is to make sure that I have a headline style sheet set up. Everybody still with me so far? Stuff we've done. So a lot of this is just kind of review. But, so I've got that, it's going to be my headline style. I'm going to go over here to my paragraph styles. I'm going to create a new, with that tracings highlighted, I'm just going to create a new style. Call this my headline. And say OK. And then I need to do this exact same thing for all of the additional pages, but I'm just going to copy this text area. Oh, actually, let's make sure that my headline is applied. Yeah, okay. Want to make sure my headline is applied to that. So I'm just going to copy that, come down here to page 4, place this, paste it again, place it on 5, and I'm just going to do this all the way through the document, all right? So this would be project 1. This is not necessarily how yours will work out. 2, 6 and 7, we're going to paste these and place them. We're just going to follow that through the book. So this is 3, project 4, project 5, project 6, and what did I just do? Oh. Project 7, and that's all the projects we got, right? 7 projects. So I'm probably going to want to adjust this up a little bit. This probably isn't the way I'm going to want to keep everything, so maybe what I actually do is, maybe project 3 actually takes up 2 pages because it's got all the most parts, 3A, 3B, and then 4 is the, so maybe I put project 3 on pages 6 and 7. Six. I guess I really don't need copy here, but. All right. Either way, whatever I get, I'm going to have leave my covers blank, and that's going to be my setup. And what's important is that all of my titles for each of the projects has a style sheet applied to it. And I don't want to go on until everybody's done what, or got this far. Yeah.
You said that we can, like, it'll update automatically too, right? So if project 7 had to become project 4, like it will fix that. Okay, so that's not a problem if we change it.
Yep. Yeah, you can design your book, you know, order of pages. I mean, the projects all have to be sequential, but you can arrange stuff the way you want. So, yeah. All right. Can I move on? We all good? Okay. So here's where the fun part begins. I'm going to come up to page 2 now. Create a text box. And let's see. All right, yeah, we'll just make the page, we'll do this first and then we'll go back and tweak it and adjust it. All right, so we got text box. I'm going to go to the layout menu down to table of contents, the very bottom, near the very bottom. Table of contents, we're going to select that and we're going to get this dialog. And we can give this a title. Right now it's just titled Contents. Table of Contents, or whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to give that my headline paragraph style. See, I've got a little dialogue there. I can define the style sheet with that. You don't have to do that part. Well, you probably should, but it's not as important as other stuff. So down here is what really matters. The styles in the table of contents. What I'm going to do is we've got These are the included paragraph styles, which there aren't any in there right now. But out here to the left, to the right, are all the styles that are currently in our document. So if I select headline, and then click the add button that comes up, it's going to move headline over into this column. Entry style, we're going to leave alone for right now. It's going to create kind of a funky looking table of contents, but we're going to fix it. So headline should be over here on this left-hand side. And technically that's all we need to do, although I do want the page number, make sure the page number is after the entry. If you don't see this option, click more, the more options button over here. I just want to make sure this is listed. So we can put our page number before the entry, or we can put it after. Again, that's a design choice. Whichever way you want to do it, just know that you've got control over that. So, but that's pretty much all we've got to do. If I click OK now, do you want the table of contents to include items and overset text? Let's just say yes. And then I've got to go back. My cursor now has this funky little thing hanging off the end of it. Click right in that box. And there are my headings along with the page numbers that they're on. And yours might look a little bit different. If we do, give me half a second here. If I open this up to the top, oh, yeah, we don't like that part. Let's get rid of that. What did I do? Wait a minute, I did something wrong. What did I do? Let's just do that. Maybe I didn't have to draw that. Okay. I really didn't need to make the table, make that image box or the text box first. All right, now, do I need to do something again? Yeah. Let's see. Did you include, so in your setup, you didn't include paragraphs? Oh, I wonder if highlight order. Highlight this text real quick. I'll show you your paragraph. Did anybody else have it, did it put your body copy in your table of contents? You do have highlight trees. Or these parts. All right, so now go ahead and your sorry. You just click out here. Click on it. Yeah, there's some more, but I think you must have a little bit of headline style applied to that body text. That's all I can think. That's probably it. So, but you got something we can work with. So, all right. Then we'll take a look at it and see make sure we know what you did wrong. All right. Okay, so here's kind of the fun thing about this. If I decide to flip, if I'm going to go to my pages, and I decide to flip, let's see what happens here. If I decide to move page 4 to where page 5 is, that didn't work right. Let's move that down. There, so I sort of reshuffled my pages out of order here. If I select my table of contents, go back to layout and update table of contents, it'll reorder everything for me. Which is why the built-in table of contents is such a good thing, is that if you've got a lot of pages and you need to move stuff around, it'll fix it for you. You don't have to manually. When you've got to manually create a table of contents, it leads to mistakes and then all sorts of other headache that go along with mistakes when you're printing a document like that. So I'm going to undo what I just did. I want everything back the way it was. 1 and 2. Update my table of contents. All right. So now we can style the rest of this stuff if we want. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go here to my style sheets, my paragraph styles, and with nothing selected, I'm just gonna create a new, and I don't have anything I don't have any of my text boxes selected here. I'm just gonna create a new paragraph style, open it up. These are gonna be my table of content headings. And I'll make them headline the same typeface I had before. I'm going to make them like maybe 18 points. And then I want to go down to tabs. If I want a leader, you know, a lot of times you'll see a table of contents where you've got the page title, then it'll be a leader, like a row of dots leading over to a number. We can do that with by going into our tab setting for this paragraph style. And I'm going to make the leader just a dot and a space. And then I'm going to set a tab, a right flush tab. It's this third one here. Out here around, I'm going to do it around 4 inches, something kind of small. 4 inches. And I'll say okay, save that. And then if I go back into my layout menu, once I've got that made, go back into my layout menu, back down to table of contents. I can change my entry style to that table of contents headings. And say okay. And it formatted that. And now I can go back in and change my style sheet any way I want to still. I can put more space between lines, make the point size bigger, I can stretch that tab out. So the important part is that you get the headings and the page numbers. If you do leaders, that's just a design choice, all right? But they do look a little nicer than numbers just sort of hanging out to the right or the left. And just remember the point of style sheets is that if I go back into that, oops. Deselect everything. I go back in here, click preview. I can make those a little bigger, increase the leading. Go down to my tabs, I can move that out some. Or in, wherever you want it to be. And that's basically how we do a table of contents. But remember, you got to have your page numbers on a parent page. And you've got to have a style sheet created for your headlines so you know what goes on what page. I made it, I titled it headline. You can title, again, you can title the headline anything you want to title it. You can call it page titles or whatever you want, just so long as that's a style sheet that you're selecting when you create your table of contents. Would it be helpful if I went through that again? Step through it, or do you think you have it?
Maybe one more time.
You think you got it or not? Or do it again? Do it again? Okay. Let's just delete that. All right. Kind of what I'm actually, after I saw her example, what's happened with her, it's probably not a bad idea. Like, you're not going to do this until the very end, until you've got your document completed anyway. You'll have all of your pages figured out before you create your table of contents. I think the problem that she was having was that I think we didn't have anything applied to this body copy, and I think there was some spillovers on the style sheet. So, but we're just gonna, anyway, we've got all these pages set up. Just going to go into layout, table of contents, and make sure that we select just our headline, move it over to the left-hand side. So we defined headline as being, that headline is what it's going to pull into our table of contents. I already have the entry style set up, so I may as well go ahead and do it. Change my entry style. I'm going to apply that table of contents headings that I had just created. I'm leaving the page number after the entry. I mean, you can move it before the entry if you want. Doesn't matter. I mean, again, design choice, really. I just kind of like the look of after the entry. If you do before the entry, I guess you pretty much don't have to worry about the whole leader, the dots leading up to it. I mean, that's one way to simplify stuff, I suppose. But I'll put this one before the entry. We'll move that there. We can even change the style of our page number if we want. All we gotta do is create a character style. And if we want to do that now, we can just click there and create new character style. Maybe all I'm going to do is change the color to blue. Say OK. I should have given it a name, but We've done all of that, and say OK. And then we're just going to click and drag out a text area to drop it into. But it's kind of the last step. So what you might do is, whenever you go to set up your document, get the outline figured out and figure out which projects are going on which pages early. Set that stuff all up and you can get your table of contents out of the way early. And if you have a problem, you got time to look it up and kind of figure it out.
Do I have to be on the type in order for it to pop up faster?
Say it again.
Like the table of content?
Oh, I changed that. Yeah, I changed it to table of contents. If you go to table of contents, you can change the title of it right here.
No, I'm saying like to like actually put it on the page.
On
So it's not popping up.
Yeah, that just. Oh, you can take your. Why don't you take your text area out? I put text area in it. So you see it. Yeah.
Oh, wait, wait, that.
Hang on, this is over here.
No, I was reading it.
Okay, but this is still the last table of contents you made, right?
Oh, you have to read it over.
Yeah, you might need to delete that one. I've never tried to do that, but yeah, you probably need to delete that, not try it again. There you are.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you can only have one table of contents in a document. You can't have multiple. So if you decide to create a second time, you gotta delete the first one. Just so you know, and nothing you're probably going to want to do with this, but if you've got headlines and then subheads within a page, for instance, let's say we've got, you've got your headline for the title, but say you did a subhead or say you've got your tracings or your, say you have your sketches and thumbnails on a different page, you could create a subheading for that and also include that within your table of contents. I don't much think, I try to keep the table of contents, this portion as simple as I can, but if we had, subheads under tracings for whatever reason, under tracings, maybe you decided to do a tracing 1, tracing 2, church, pyramid, that kind of thing. You could assign a heading of 2 to those, define them here, and then they would show up in the table of contents as well. Maybe I'll do that real quick. Okay. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. And let's do. So let's do pyramid, and again, this is just an example. Pyramid and church. Headline. 18. And then with that selected, create a subheadings. Apply that to both of those. Then whenever I go into my table of contents, I could also include that subheadings. And when I make that, it'll add those two subheadings to that as well. And let's fix that. Select subheadings. I'm going to put that page number before the entry. So we can add subheadings that way too, to a table of contents. And we can style it just the same way we did the headline. If I've got that selected, I could change the entry style to, I could make it the same as my table of contents headings. So, a variety of things we can do with that. Change that back, I don't like that. Basic paragraph. And actually, I'll just select on that and move it to get rid of them. So just know, you can make these all pretty deep if you want to, but keep it simple and just keep to the project itself. That'll be the easiest thing to do. Any other questions?
When you're doing the subheadings and you have the subheadings smaller than like the actual like title page, was that something that you did within like the paragraph styles? Like if you applied like
I created a new paragraph style for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I applied it.
That's already in there.
Yeah, so, yeah. So, and I created a new paragraph style for that. That was my table of contents headings. And then when I have headlines selected, I can apply that style right here. And on my subhead, when I had the subhead, if I add this back over, I'll add this back over here. If I have that selected, you see now this entry style, I can change that to either a different one I make or one of the other ones.
Gotcha, okay.
So they can be different. Generally most of the time the way I set these up is actually with the headline. I put the number after the entry. The subheading, I'll put the number after the entry. And usually I'll just inset the subhead a little bit, which I can create a paragraph style for that right out here next to it. Select that. No, not for the page number, for the entry style itself. I can create a new paragraph style. I could base it on the headings, but make the font size a little smaller. And maybe I indent from the left 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. Say okay. And I get that subhead back that way. And that's just all paragraph styles.
So let's take that back out. Remove it, say okay. There. All right. So that's how we can set those up. So yeah, so that's table of contents. Let me stop